In this video, we'll take a look at creating the base of our steering wheel. Because we created an offset plane for our sketch picture, we can go ahead and start a sketch on our front plane. Once we're on the front plane, we want to go ahead and add a few lines. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, we're only concentrating on half of the steering wheel. So we're going to be able to mirror across to the left side. And because we don't have any real reference dimensions, I'm going to start by fixing some of this geometry. So I'm going to select the line and go over to Make Fixed. Now that's only going to make the position of this line fixed. It's not actually fixing the endpoints, and you can tell because the endpoints are still blue. So I'm going to go ahead, select each of those endpoints and fix those as well. I'm going to go ahead and add some straight lines wherever I think they're necessary. This section over here is going to be a straight line. I'm going to double click to deselect the line tool, draw another straight line, and draw our last one here, double click, and then draw a horizontal line here. There's a few more lines that we're going to need to add, but we'll go ahead and do those later. This section here looks like it should be a standard angle, so I'm going to go ahead and add a dimension by using the S key and get to quick dimensions pretty easily. Looks like it might be pretty close to 125 degrees, so we'll go ahead and add that. Then I'm going to fix both of these lines. I'm going to fix this line and fix this line. Now you can see this gives us an over-defined sketch option here. Now, there are a few options when you come into an over-defined sketch. You can have SolidWorks resolve that sketch, or you can do it on your own. So I'm going to Control Z and undo that. I'm going to leave this line floating. Let's go ahead and define the rest of our lines. I'm going to draw a vertical construction line right here. Again, I'm going to convert this to construction. I'm going to use C on my keyboard because that is a hotkey I set up. And then I want to draw a 3-point arc. I'm going to go from this point here to this point here, and just give it some sort of rough geometry there. And then we're going to come back and apply a tangent relation to both sides of this line. That allows us to drag this around, and I can go ahead and fix this point. So you can see fixing that point fixed this line as well. Now I want to add a fillet. So we'll go ahead and let's add a 10mm fillet to this bottom corner. And go ahead and OK that. All right, the next thing we want to do is concentrate on filling in this section right here. There are a few ways we can do this. We can try to fill this in with arcs, we can draw a few straight lines and add fillets, or we can use a spline in this area here. So I want to go ahead and fix this line, fix its endpoint, and then we can go ahead and take a look at how we can create that geometry. Because I know we're going to have a button panel here and we're going to have some sort of rounded corner here, I want to make sure that I use either a fillet or an arc in this area. So I'm going to start by drawing a 3-point arc, just selecting an endpoint here, and then applying a tangency with this line. That looks like it's pretty close, so I'm just going to drag it around. I'm going to apply a dimension here. Let's use 15mm, and then make sure that we have this endpoint in a good location for us. Once I do, I'm going to fix that endpoint and finish off the rest of this corner. And I'm going to do that by using a spline. I'm going to use a spline by creating a start point and an end point, then hitting the escape key to get out of the spline tool. That allows me to select this line, Control select my arc, and apply a tangency here. That looks pretty close, but if I left click on the spline, if we zoom in, we can see there's another gray handle here. And once I grab that, it'll actually allow me to activate that handle and add some extra curvature to this part. That looks pretty close for me. All right, the last thing we want to do is create this upper section here. So again, I'm going to draw a horizontal construction line. We want to convert that to a construction, so you can either select it, convert it to a construction here, use a quick key, or use that pop-up menu. Then I want to draw a 3-point arc again. Because we are mirroring this part, it's very important that we use this reference here and create a tangency. By creating a tangency with a horizontal reference line here, when we mirror this part about that vertical plane there, it's going to be our right plane in this case, that will make sure that we have a smooth transition of this part. Now we just have to drag this end and then fix it in place. Okay, you can see here we still have some geometry that is not fixed. There are a few ways we can take care of this. Because we have some fixed and we have some dimensions, if we try to fix things like this straight line, we might get an over-defined sketch pop-up. There we go, we have an over-defined sketch pop-up. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to use something from this Display Delete Relations dropdown called Fully Defined Sketch. I'm going to go ahead and only apply dimensions. So you can see there's 2 checkboxes here. We don't want to apply any relations. We're just going to apply dimensions. I'm going to say calculate. And I'm going to say, okay, I let SolidWorks define the location of the underdefined portions of this sketch. Because we don't have dimensions, because we're not driving it based on a sketch or dimensions we measured off the steering wheel, it's okay for me to let SolidWorks pick these numbers and let that define the sketch. So now we have a fully defined sketch. We can exit this sketch and create an extruded boss. Because we don't have any actual dimensions of this part, I'm going to assume this plate is 10 millimeters. We might come back and find that that's actually too thick, but for now, we're going to go ahead and use 10 millimeters. Just to make sure that we did everything right, I'm going to select the right plane and use my mirror tool and select the body to mirror. So because we used a horizontal line for the bottom, and because we used that tangency relation for the top, you can see we have no seams here with the mirror. Everything is nice and smooth, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So I want to go ahead and delete that mirror, and we want to save this. That concludes creating the base of our steering wheel.